So after almost 2.5 years since Jimmy did the first episode, and with Battlefield 5 basically coming to an end I would say in the next couple of months, it's a video idea that I thought I would finish off, and that is Jimmy's best players in Battlefield 5. Now he did a part 1 with the promise of a part 2, which obviously never came, so that's something that I thought I would finish. Now before I head into my top 10 players with a couple of honourable mentions, I wanted to do some disclaimers. Now I'm probably going to sound a bit dumb throughout this whole video because I'm currently sick, so apologies for that. And I am also going to judge my players generally based off the ESP tournaments that took place. This will be Season 1, 2, 3 and 4. Throughout that, it's just generally easier to go over stats, and it's the tournaments that I remember the most, so keep that in mind. I will try and involve some other tournaments like CGL and some back-end tournaments with perk ops and etc. But most of it is generally based off ESP. I thought I'd get the disclaimer out of the way just so people get mad. I'm not going to include myself as well, obviously because that would be kind of hella biased. But yeah, that's my disclaimer, so let's get right into it. And for the honourable mentions that I wanted to quickly get away, and another kind of little disclaimer, most of these will be EU and maybe a bit of NA, as I don't really know much about NA and South America as well. There are so many good players in the South American region, it's unreal, and I just don't know the skill level of them and how good they are, as it's extremely difficult to play against them due to ping. But the disclaimers that I wanted to get away are most of the tankers on this game. So you have like Severunus, Corvette, DHKL, Oscar. There's many more. There's quite loads of pilots as well that were just absolutely insane in T12s and 16s. But I'm not generally the person to judge vehicles, as it's something I haven't done in years. So if any tankers or pilots can comment down below, maybe give your top 10 for stuff like that, it'd be probably greatly appreciated by a few people. So make sure to comment. I have no idea about those. Now, to be honest, I could probably note so many players for honourable mentions that the video could literally go on for half an hour, maybe even an hour, to be honest with you. There's that many people that I've played with, played against over the last couple of years. It's been insane. Now, before I talk and waffle on any longer, let's get into the top 10, something that you've probably maybe skipped ahead for, or something that you're literally just waiting for. Now, for me, my top 10, my number 10 is something I'm torn between, and I've put Ghost or Stellari, as many of you may have known, slash Ash, who some of you will all know, maybe not. I did that because Ghost kind of came in late to the scene, kind of blossomed at the end, towards the end, where Ash was kind of like mostly towards the start. They kind of like split with each other. Ghost was more of a medic player, Ash more of his AR, but I think those two, for me, would at least share the top 10 spot. I don't know if you would agree. If Ghost and Ash played a bit longer, they may be higher up, but at least for me, that was my number 10 pick. Now, for the number 9 spot, I have it as Dennis, or aka Pekdemir, and many other PSN names because he's weird. But Dennis was mainly an assault player, of course, played for POG. The reason why he's number 9 and not further up for me is just lack of versatility in classes, and generally because his playstyle was on the less aggressive side, and he generally played a lot better when he had an aggressive player beside him. As much as I would like to show clips, he didn't record anything because he's Pepega. But Dennis played all 4 seasons actually for POG and did extremely well in every single one, holding down that assault role. For me, he could be higher up if he was a little bit more aggressive and probably had a little bit more confidence in the playstyle that he had. He also could be lower down if he played a lot more aggressive and didn't do as well. So for me, Dennis is at the number 9 spot, an extremely good player, good teammate, and a good friend. So yeah, Dennis is my number 9. And at the number 8 spot, I have a person that I played with for a long time and also played against for quite a while, and that is Jimmy. Now, while many people may not like him or may find him toxic, Jimmy was generally straightforward and to the point. A generally good player. Versatility was on point. He could play any class from sniper to medic, assault support, any class, any gun. Could play any role, AC, B squad, even in rush. He could literally play anything. That's mainly the reason why he's at number 8. Just pure versatility. Callouts are on point. He probably could earn a higher spot higher up, I believe, but I think some players just above him were just a little bit better gun skill wise, while for me he was probably on top along with Ash in terms of actual communication. But that's why Jimmy takes the number 8 spot. On versatility and communication alone, he'd probably be number 1, 2, quite high up in that list. So Jimmy is my number 8 spot for that one. And my number 7 spot is Jobs, or Insight Jobs still, as his PSN is. Now his role with PLG through Season 1, 2, 3 and 4, both as a player and a leader, was insane. He held down that assault spot to a T on the B flag. He probably would be higher up if he was a little bit more versatile between AC and with other classes, but still an extremely good player. Both throughout BF5 and BF1 and also BF4. He's a guy that's been around for an extremely long time and, to be honest, deserves a spot on the top 10. Many of you may not agree because he's been inactive for quite some time, but just the role he played throughout ESB and also CGL tournaments and just BF5 as a whole, it was incredible, so that's why he takes the number 7 spot. Now, at the number 6 spot, another player that's been inactive for quite some time, or at least I know that's been active for some time, and that is Deagle. He played for GV and Exceed in Season 1, and I believe Season 2. I don't know if he played many other tournaments. He played quite a few CGL. Maybe on some alts he played, but for me, he was inactive for quite some time. But in his peak in Season 1 and maybe some of Season 2, Deagle has been insane. He mainly played Medic, I believe, and some Assault, but I just remember playing against him. He was one of those players that you generally had to watch out for, and you had to keep an eye on what he would do, how he would slay out. That's the reason why he's mainly high up on my list, just to the fact that he could play Medic and Assault, and he's been an extremely good player both Season 1 and Season 2. If he played more of BF5, but you know, it wasn't that good at the time he was playing, but if he played a lot more of BF5, he probably would be higher up the list. Like many of these players, if they were active throughout, they probably would be higher, but Deagle is definitely up there as an extremely good player. For the number 5 spot, a player whose playstyle many people don't really like with the amount of proning that he does, and of course, it's Frantic. Now, despite all the proning that he does, he's an extremely smart player and can play, I would say, a semi-aggressive role, but generally just tends to play Assault, at least in competitive or what I've seen of him. He's extremely good. I don't know how he is to play with, as it's something that I've not generally done. I'm assuming that he would be someone that is an extremely good in-game leader, though maybe I'm mistaken, I don't know, but he comes across as that type of player. He did extremely well across all ESP seasons, across any tournament really, especially with GV and also Exceed, and then at the end in ESP Season 4 with Redux. And honestly deserves the number 5 spot, and like many people that were below him, he would be extremely higher up the list if he could play a multiple of roles, maybe medic and support, but that is something that many people can't really do. But yeah, so the number 5 is Frantic, a spot that he probably extremely deserves. At the number 4 spot, we have a player known as Killua. Many of you may not know him who watch my channel. Most of the competitive players will, and Killua was an extremely good player and a good leader, and to be honest, I think one of 2Easy's best players, though 2Easy players, let me know your opinion, but I honestly think he was one of 2Easy's best players. Generally a person you would look at the scoreboard and think, right, we need to deal with him, otherwise he's gonna like pop the fuck off. And Killer was extremely good with any class, Assault, Medic. I didn't really see him play much support, though when he played, support wasn't the greatest class. But with both Medic and Assault, the guy would literally lock down any map. Was good on every mode as well, and definitely deserves his number 4 spot. I would put him higher if I knew him more as a person and playing with him, so he probably deserves to be a little bit higher than he is, but I think a number 4 spot is extremely respectable for Killer. Now, at this point, I'm just going to list number 3 and number 2 off at the same time, because I think they're relatively close and probably could interchange both 2 and 3. And that is Alpha at number 3 and Edison at number 2. Both kind of similar players, in my opinion. Generally used to play Medic as their main class, but could definitely flex with Assault and Support extremely well. Alpha controls Recon if he wanted to. But these two players could honestly switch between themselves, 2 and 3. Edison, to be honest, is probably one of the most known players that I know, at least on NA. I played him quite a bit, considering, like I said, is an NA player. Hence, probably why he's quite high up on the list and is an extremely good one. Like I said, the NA scene I don't really know that well, so maybe there are some NA players that will think he's lower down, maybe higher up, I don't know. But my number 2 and 3 is Alpha and Edison, both extremely good players, similar play styles. And both people that you should probably watch out for if you were playing against them. But for the number 2 and 3 spot, it is Alpha and Edison. And for any of you that have made it this far into the video, feel free to leave a like if you enjoy this type of video. if you want to, I was going to say if you want to see more, but I doubt you'll see more for Battlefield 5, but make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and without waffling on anymore, the number one spot, or the number one player that I think has been throughout the entirety of Battlefield 5, and that is Saint. Now, many of you will know who Saint is. He kind of relatively new to the scene, I guess, in Battlefield 5, though he did play Battlefield 1 and BF4 a lot, just generally public games, as he has told a lot of people. But Saint, honestly, in my opinion, and this isn't generally a POG bias thing, though many people may think it is, I honestly think it's just the overall versatility and gun skill he has, along with the communication. He can in-game lead as well. He's just an insane player with any class, any role, on any map. And honestly, I literally think he's the best. To be quite honest with you, he can do it on pubs, he can do it in competitive, like I said, any mode. And just on any game as well. His versatility across all battlefields. I know this video is just on BF5, but taking that into account as well, I honestly think he's definitely up there and honestly deserves the number one spot 100%. Let me know if you agree with any of the players that I've listed off, but I honestly think Saint deserves the number one spot. Now, I appreciate anyone that made it through the entire list. Let me know your opinion down in the comments, what your top 10 is, whether you agree with it, who you would change. Also, tanks and pilots, like I said at the start, feel free to note your top 10, top 5, or whatever, in terms of vehicles. And if there's any South American viewers, let me know your top 10 players, whether they would fit in this, if you know how well they would do. But appreciate you watching. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe if you enjoy, you know, BF5, Battlefield content as a whole. It'd be greatly appreciated. Getting close to that 10k mark. But I'll catch you guys in the next video or stream, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.